Welcome back, everyone, to this episode of Galactic Reviews. The long-awaited, at least for me, watching of Wicked, the stage play, the stage adaptation of the world-renowned musical, the adaptation of the stage Broadway musical, world-renowned Wicked, same name. However, this is just part one, which is a little crazy, but kind of made sense with what they did. Anyways, if you've seen it, you've seen it. If not, it's just a rendition of what the origins could be for the Wizard of Oz story, primarily from the perspective of the Wicked Witch of the West. Her name is Elphaba, which is a play on the original author's name, L.F. Baum, and Glinda, the Good Witch, as well as the Wizard of Oz, and kind of how he got to the course of events in the original Wizard of Oz. Overall, as a musical adaptation, I thought it was very good, despite the fact that the movie itself was longer than the entirety of the stage play. In this, the movie itself is only part one. This is Wicked Part One officially. Very good. It had all of the songs in part one. It didn't take away from any of the songs. The most it did is it added some length to the songs, not by adding lyrics, but by adding spacing for scene changes and stuff. It added dialogue. It kind of added more, mainly just for the world building and the dialogues and the scenes, so the characters felt more fleshed out for a movie scene than they really do in the play. I cannot speak to how well this movie or the musical itself is as an adaptation of the book, as I have not read it. But from a stage to screen adaptation, this was pretty faithful without leaving too much to be desired. Where it adds, it feels like it fits. And overall, quality adaptation of a stage musical. So it's solid 8 out of 10. I was quite happy. I love Wicked the musical. I've seen it several times, near and dear to my heart.
So to preface this, I had no idea as to what Wicked was. I had never known about the play. I think when Andrew had told me about this movie for the first time, I had no idea that it was a play at all. And I had seen the trailer for it, and I thought it was simply just a retelling of The Wizard of Oz from the witch's perspective. And I didn't like the way that the trailer was, didn't like a whole bunch of stuff that it was showing me. Then I found out from Andrew that it was a more so like a what if sort of scenario, I think is what you said, Andrew. It's essentially
Yeah.
not supposed to be the same. It's the same characters, but not the same story as the Wizard of Oz movie, if I remember that correctly. That being said, still, I don't like it. There are things I think that are done well. I think the cinematography is done well, and I think um the scenes, the background stuff is very well done. Looked like a lot of care went into the production of this. I just don't like the story, and some of the acting is hit or miss. And the soundtrack isn't that bad. It's the songs that they sing that I don't care for. And I wouldn't say I have a disdain for them. I just don't care for them. I just personally have a problem with the way that when other people take characters from something else and try to distort them and change them into whatever they want them to be. I don't know. I don't like what this ends up becoming. And I know this is technically part one and not part two.
Hmm.
Like it's not the full thing. So I'm trying not to like confuse what I've read and what I kind of know is going to happen later on with this part. I didn't like it. I don't hate it. I just don't like it. So I'll probably just give this a 5. It's something that if you want to watch like how like a musical like going into being a movie like an adaptation would be, this is probably a very good movie to watch. But it's just not my. I just don't care that much for the story at all. So yeah, 5 out of 10 for me.
Okay.
So after I brought down the mood, Zach, you go.
I actually enjoyed this movie a lot more than I thought I would. I had seen the Broadway musical a long time ago, so I don't remember it in detail. It's been a while, but I remember it enough to know that this was this was a much broader stroke for it to enhance it visually and give it more finer details,
Yeah.
like Andrew said. And for
Mm.
that, I really enjoyed it. I do understand where you're coming from, but also I know a bit about the characters from the book, and they are very similar to how they are in the Wicked book. So I think they did a good adaptation. I haven't read the book. I know of the book and I know bits and pieces from the book,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
it's a good yeah, it's a good adaptation from the book to the play to this movie.
Yep.
They did a very well job. It's very fluid, very bright, very colorful when it needs to be,
Yep.
and
And I'll agree with you guys that
very.
it does very good job in like those scenes where it's world building. Those are very well done. I
Mhm.
just don't like the story at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I can understand that. I'm excited to see part two, and at the same time, I really hope it's not another 2.5 hours for a sequel.
It probably will be.
It probably will be, but even for a musical, 2.5 hours is a long time. I don't enjoy even watching normal movies that are 2.5 hours long. Lord of the Rings is pretty much the only thing, and even that is pushing it sometimes,
Yeah.
because I've seen it so much. But I understand why they made it 2.5 hours to make it more visually appealing and fill in gaps and
Mhm.
everything. But at the same time, I'm not a big fan of movies that are consistently 2.5, 3 hours long
I will say this,
nowadays.
if it was just the songs like it was in the Les Mis movie
Hmm.
that we did, I would absolutely hate this movie because there would be so many missing pieces.
Yes, that's where I'm like, they do a good job
So
for what it is, so I'm not upset. I appreciate good musicals, and I pretty much, to sum up what I was saying, I didn't enjoy the fact that it's a 2.5, 3 hour movie. For a musical, that's a lot
Yeah.
for it just to be a part
Part
one.
one of the musical. Yeah.
yeah,
Even for a normal movie, that's a long time.
yeah,
And I'm not a big fan of sitting down for 3 hours to watch a single movie. Lord of the Rings is pushing it solely because it's just a well-known franchise at this point.
yeah,
It was known for being that long. But nowadays we have a whole bunch of other movies that are 2.5 hours long, and we have a lot of bad movies that are 2.5 hours long. So
yeah,
at this point, it just becomes tedious at times to sit through a movie that long.
yeah. Especially when a
I
lot of them are gambles, essentially at this point.
Yeah, the biggest thing I'm concerned with is part two. I know is probably going to be roughly the same length as part one,
Yeah.
and I'm excited and nervous on are they going to overstretch themselves with this one by putting in too much detail, or are they going to try to do what they did with the first one?
I think they're going to do it with the first one because if I'm
I
understanding
would
this
hope
correctly,
so.
they did both parts at the same time,
Back to
and
back.
they
Okay.
just filmed them both back to back. Kind of helps
Okay.
cost, and they just went ahead and did it both back to back, and then made two separate films. Cut up the first one. Now they have a year to do the second one. Kind of piece that one together, and then put it out next year. If I
Okay.
was, I would assume it'd be kind of like what they did for Infinity War and Endgame, kind of that same aspect.
Yeah.
So, and considering that it's like a year right after the next one, I would think that's what they would have done anyway, because that's really a
Fair.
fast turnaround.
I just hope the second half does well, but I really don't want it to be another 2.5 hours long.
It probably will
Probably
be.
will.
It probably will
I
be.
know it will. I just don't want it to be
Yeah.
because I'm like it's already longer than the original play.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. That's just me personally. I don't want to sit through another 2.5 hour movie.
Fair.
But other
Fair.
than that, I enjoyed this. I would give this probably a 7.5 out of 10,
But
maybe an 8.
yeah.
Yeah, it was good. Part two will really decide whether or not it's worth more or not in ratings.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see how they do a few of the characters and kind of tie them into part two for the movie. So I'm excited. I'm excited. I
I
think it's
am, but
going to be well done,
yeah.
hopefully.
I will say I would say roughly the first hour, I was kind of bored. The movie was slow at the hour. I mean, after that, it kind of picks up, but that first act and everything, that's kind of, I was looking at my phone. I was wanting to do other things.
Yeah, I mean,
But I
it
mean,
was a lot of build up,
on
but
top of that, it's also part one of a two part of a duology
two-part
movie, I
movie.
guess. Like I guess it's all necessary information. I was just bored.
Understandable. Musicals are not your shtick.
Yeah, that's true. That is true for you. But
I mean,
even
I mean, I
even
chose
still,
the what was it? The what was the Moses movie that I chose?
Prince of Egypt.
Yeah.
That's a different kind of musical. That's a Disney
yes.
kind of musical.
Okay.
I'm talking about Broadway musicals.
Okay, then probably yeah.
Yep.
I told him we should make him watch Cats.
I don't want to do that.
I don't want to do that.
I said it
I
I
as a
don't.
saw
joke.
I
I
saw
said
the
it as a joke mostly, but
yeah, yeah. I know, but
Regardless, the stage play or the movie, I don't want to watch it.
I
It's
the
got
just
trailer
personally I just
I
it's got
saw
personally
the
think it's
songs.
his I think it's his worst play.
It's
And
the
I know people love
style of
it.
musicals.
I just can't.
I saw the
I
trailer for
just
that
physically
movie.
can't.
Saw the trailer for that movie in theaters. I did not want to see it, and I
Cats
don't
is the
want to see it now.
Seinfeld of musicals. It's a musical about nothing.
Yeah. No, that's a good that's a good way to put it. I didn't think about it like that. Yeah.
It's just artsy to be artsy, music to be music. The music good. Andrew Lloyd Webber's fantastic. He can make good music. It's just
hmm
not an entertaining musical. I've watched it. It's okay.
I don't know. We'll see how part two. Do we have they announced a potential date for part two yet?
It was November something when I looked it up.
I remember something. Okay.
November
Oh,
21st,
they're
I
gonna
want to
call
say.
it Wicked for Good.
I also had no idea when I was going into this that this was a part one until somebody told me. So I had no idea that this was going to be two-part movie. That caught me off guard as well.
Mhm.
And that was not at all shown in the any of the stuff I would like any of the trailers, any of the stuff.
Not.
That was not
They
in any of
did
the
that on
promotional
purpose.
stuff. Yeah, they did that on purpose. That way they could suck you in. And I mean, it's good, but that'll piss some people off too. So
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, no, I can agree with that. But I mean,
I mean, I get why they did it, and it's a good play. Yeah, that might hurt some people down the line as
yeah.
well.
I just think the expanding they did sues it because they could have done a one by one. They could have done a one by one recreation, and it would have been fine. It just would not been. It would have probably made like a on my ranking. It would probably been like a six, maybe a seven, but probably like a weak six, solid five. Just because stage performances and screen performances are so different,
That and I don't think it would have
especially
gone
when it
as
comes.
well. That I don't think that would have been well. I don't. Yeah, I agree with you. It probably wouldn't have been a good movie because it would have been two. Those are two different fields. But it probably wouldn't have done that well with like normal people that have no
I
idea what this is,
they
like
they
me.
did it with Les Miserables and they did it with the Phantom of the Opera, and those are both pretty well loved adaptations. But when it comes, it's just they sacrificed doing one movie instead of two for the ability to like build out the world and the characters and give you a chance to get attached to the world, this specific version of Oz and the characters more.
Well, yeah, because it's such a
And
drastic
make
change from
yeah,
what a lot of people know from the classic. So, I mean, I get that, and that's probably needed.
I think it was still pretty faithful.
On the play, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
On the original work, like on like the original L bomb guy, whatever his name is.
LF bomb.
Yeah. So, yeah, I had no idea that the original Wizard of Oz was actually based off his books. So I bought the book collection, and that'll probably be what I read. some point.
They were good. I did read them probably way back in middle school. I did read, I think, three of them maybe. They were
Well,
good. They're
from what I saw, there were like
oh
five
no, never
books.
mind.
There were
I don't
like
think
five books, and then there were like three books in each of those five books. So there was like 15 in total.
I don't know. I'm realizing now that I'm mixing them up with the original Alice in Wonderland books that I read. My bad.
I know the books for kids, but I'm like, I've never read them. Might as well give them a read.
I don't know how those books adapt to the original Wizard of Oz. I know how the books for Alice in Wonderland adapt to the original Alice in Wonderland, but that's it.
I might have more to say by part two if I read all those books, which I doubt. I'm a slow reader, but
Yeah, overall, as an adaptation, separating it from its original source, very good. I am not in a place to be able to compare it to the original Wizard of Oz. It's been so long since I've seen it.
I I was about to watch it and then I had to do other things. But
Yeah, it's been so long since I've seen it. As far as I can remember, all my initial impression was that the original was vague enough where it left it open enough to have this story created. But that was
mm,
also still a long time from seeing it. I can't remember the last time I saw it.
with all the stuff that the witch does and all the stuff that the wizard does, I can't necessarily say that I can see this fitting within like both movies fitting within the same Oz universe, I guess.
I
I
mean,
just
I
can't
mean,
see
when
that
you
happening.
see the end of the second one, you can see how it fits in because you see also the origins of the lion, the Tin Man, and
I
the
mean, we already kind of got to see the somewhat the origin of the lion in the part one. We and I mean the Tin Man and Scarecrow characters are already in part one. It's just
yeah,
you don't know
they
who
are.
they are yet.
But you find out how they become that way.
Yeah, I just don't. They act very differently from what I remember in the movie than what they act in here. And granted, they're not quite there in this um thing yet, but like the Wicked Witch of the I guess the Wicked Witch of the West we're getting introduced to, and the Wizard of Oz we're introduced to, and I would think that they're probably not going to deviate from what they are now.
No.
And the Wizard of Oz doesn't act like the one in the
I mean, you can make that argument for Oz the Great and Powerful.
yes, but I also haven't seen that one either.
Oh, okay.
So, and
Yeah,
I don't even
that is a very what if origin story on Oz and how he gets to uh the land of Oz and
yeah.
his origin.
And
I mean, all these
I
are
had
what if and not directly tied to canon.
yeah, and that's the thing where I'm like, if it's like a what if, okay, I can let it somewhat slide. I just disagree with it for whatever for people who enjoy it. I mean, but
I
they're
mean,
gonna
that
say
is
it
a,
directly ties in. I kind of have a
I
I
mean,
don't know
I
if I
don't
can
think
see it.
anyone's saying it directly does. It's just a
No,
what if.
I just thought it did because it didn't say it didn't. So
That's understandable. That's
now that I
understandable.
know that, I'm like, well,
I don't think many people are thinking about like the source material when they see these kinds of things,
no,
though.
but I mean, as a fan, I was thinking this was gonna tie into it. As somebody who would like, well, I guess as a fan of the original Wizard of Oz, I was thinking, okay, maybe this will tie into it, and I had no
It
idea
will in
about the
part.
play.
That is one of the disadvantages of breaking it up. You don't get that conclusion of where it ties into the first movie.
There's something that's missing in how I'm explaining it and how you're receiving it, and I'm trying to figure out how to best.
Well, I mean, you just don't like that they took someone else's creation and created another story with the characters. I think the difference is that with the original creation, there wasn't a created this much character development or background for any of the characters to be like the creator of Wicked didn't change anything. He just added.
I disagree.
I mean, we don't have a backstory for any of the characters, so we have no idea of what they actually are, other than the what we are given in the scenes they're at. We only know what they are and what they're portraying.
Yes,
I'm not
but
saying
this
it's
is.
canon. It's definitely not like canon to the original Wizard of Oz. I'm just saying it's different than a redaction.
I mean, but they're also portraying the Wicked Witch of the West as a good guy,
They're portraying them as a sympathetic villain,
not a sympathetic villain, but more like a mistaken hero.
I guess.
and that I disagree with.
That's okay. That is okay. Enough people like it.
I mean, I'm not saying that people can't like it. I just disagree.
That's okay. You are definitely allowed to disagree. Everyone is very much entitled to their opinion in there. The things they want to, the things they particularly enjoy. That is
Yeah.
totally fine.
Did we lose Zach at all, or
I don't know.
No, I'm still here.
okay, he's just
I
listening
I
to
don't
this.
enjoy war movies. Like I don't get them.
You don't
I can't
enjoy
think
war
of some.
movies?
I don't.
Really?
I'm not a history guy. None of it intrigues me. Like Saving Private Ryan, it's an okay movie. It's nowhere near any of my favorites. I think it's a good, well-made movie. I'm just like, meh. I'm not into war movies. I
I
don't get
guess
them.
that's kind of where I'm at on this. It's a
Which
well-made
is
movie. I just don't like it. Don't
that's
care that
fine.
much for it.
That's okay. I recognize there are things that I just don't get. Beauty of the human condition.
Zach, do you understand what I was saying at all? Because
I don't think so.
that's good. Okay.
Someone out there might, and they
Yep.
will let us know
I
in the
just,
comments down below.
yeah, probably. I just disagree the way that they did with the witch because I mean, she's evil in the Wizard of Oz movie as she's going
I
around
mean,
like trying to
yes.
find this kid and torture this kid because she stole a pair of shoes or she
Well,
accidentally got a pair of shoes attached to
well,
her.
as I said while you were in a terrible place
Limbo,
just a moment
yes.
ago, um,
In
it
Wi-Fi
was
limbo.
somewhat justified in the fact of it. She did also kill her sister, so
Yes, but it was via accident. Like
it
it
was
wasn't
via
her
accident.
fault.
But she also stole the magic shoes from her mother that was also given to her sister. And she said, "Give me the shoes back and I'll leave you alone." And Dorothy said no. So, in her eyes, I can understand how she sees Dorothy as a villain. I'm just
To
saying.
But it's
to avoid the
also
debate of the original movie, I will also say that it's a matter of perspective. We're seeing the movie from Dorothy's eyes. And this is where we can
Yes.
get into debate about the concept of a reliable narrator
Yeah.
and how we're only seeing one perspective of a story. But also, this is a movie from like what, the 1940s?
1939, yeah.
Yeah, there you go, 1939.
Right before World War II.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's where I make the argument for like wiggle room with character backgrounds and character interpretation due to one point of view in this movie and being like, oh, what if we took a different point of view and what if it was different from a different character perspective? That's all I can give for the justification of why the story was created.
Yeah,
I
like
can't
the
give any
reliability on the
justification for
narrative.
what's in the book because I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's all I got. As a fan of theater and musicals, I loved it. I was very happy with it as an adaptation of the play that I love. I was great. That's about all I got. I think Ariana did a much better job at playing Glinda than I thought she would, and I wasn't surprised with Cynthia Erivo. She is a widely talented actress. She is
I
a
will be perfectly honest, this is the first film I've seen her in.
This is the first time I've seen her, but she has a reputation in the Broadway scene. She is exceedingly
Well,
talented.
I knew that, but this is the first thing I've seen her in.
Same.
Um, and I think yeah, I will agree. She did a wonderful job. The same with Ariana Grande. I think she did a great job. I wasn't expecting her to. I don't know. I don't want to say pull off this role. I think she played the ditzy character very, very well.
Yes, she played Galinda very well. Other than that, yeah, from a stage to movie adaptation, this was very good, barring the exception that it was a longer than the actual play, only for half of the story. The compensation for was a payoff. It did pay off to to make it feel like a movie and not as disjointed as a play would feel directly pulled from stage to screen. Other than that, that's about it. Yeah.
All right, Zach, it's your turn next.
Oh, I completely forgot. What is the name of that movie? Hold on.
War of
Let
the
me.
Rohirrim, I think.
What was it?
Are
War
we
of the
seeing the
Rohirrim?
anime Lord of the Rings?
Yep.
Yes, we are. I am somewhat excited for it. I think it will be interesting.
Part
Um,
of me has always wanted to be a Tolkien scholar and like really read and like absorb Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit on top of like the Silmarillion and all of the above. Part of me has always wanted to be a Tolkien historian.
Dude, that's a lot of stuff to read, man.
Yeah, trust me, I'm trying to get through Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere, which is a monster, and then I want to get through Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time, which is a 14 book series.
Ooh, The Wheel of Time.
Yeah. And then I want to get through Malazan, which is also really apparently a fantastic fantasy series. People tend to put it in the top five if they've ever read it. And then I also need to finish Rick Riordan's Trials of Apollo. And then I want to reread Lord of the Rings because I sped through it in audiobook. And then I want to reread Dune because I think I only read the first two, but I want to get to the whole trilogy. It's been too long since the first two, so I don't remember them. And then if George R. R. Martin ever comes out with that fifth book, I need to reread Game of Thrones before that because that's been so long ago and they're so complicated. I have so much on my to be read list. Thank goodness I got a Kindle, but just, oh my goodness. And it just keeps growing. It never stops. I want to read Red
Same.
Rising. I want to read Fourth Wing. I've got a whole bunch of books on the shelves themselves that I haven't even touched.
You'll get around to them at some point. All right. Thank you everyone for watching this episode of Galactic Reviews. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you go see this movie if you haven't, and let us know how you enjoyed it down in the comments below. And join us next week as we watch the new animated movie for Lord of the Rings.
You forgot the name, didn't you?
I wasn't even gonna try because I didn't hear a word you said.